I'm like super uncomfortable. And when you told me that I was coming here for an interview, I didn't know that you'd want me to talk about the Hailey Bieber smoothie. I've been put in a situation right now where I have to actually step away and remove myself.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that we talk about hard topics here on this podcast.
God is real. I'll prove it to you.
I'm happy to open my heart to whatever you have to say, but I might put my headphones in a few minutes. No matter how hard you tuck, the metaphorical schlong always finds a way of whipping itself back into your body.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Queer Collective Podcast. I'm your host, Carbon.
I'm Emily.
I'm Taha.
And welcome to the show.
Today we are joined by Taha, who is a hilarious content creator who explores queer and South Asian immigrant experiences, as well as so many other topics. We highly recommend following him on TikTok and Instagram. If you've had a negative coming out experience, does that mean you can't explore a relationship with your family, your culture, or religion? This is a question that we're exploring today. We'll be chatting coming out, rebuilding relationships, setting boundaries, and connecting with culture without religion. Let's get into it. Thank you so much, Taha, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I think that when it comes to like immigrant families in general, we do have a lot of similarities across the board of coming out to a different non-Western culture, as well as in particular religious cultures. I know what it was like for me coming out and how nervous I was. And I know that a lot of people, especially immigrants, just don't come out at all, depending on how religiously strict or culturally strict their parents are. So I'm wondering, what really motivated you to come out to your parents?
There were two things. The first thing was feeling very frustrated and tired of living a double life. It was my first time ever being in a relationship, and I was very in love, and he and I were actually living together. And so I was living a complete double life, and I was really tired of it. There was the first piece, which was how anxiety-inducing it was and scary it was and painful it was. And that was for all 23 years leading up to it. I didn't like lying to my family, and I'd been doing it for so long. And as I was getting older and doing it, now that I was in a relationship, the stakes were higher. It meant more that I was lying. By the time that I was ready to come out, both my siblings had kids that I adore. Mm-hmm. And so now it wasn't just about me and my siblings and my parents. There were also these little kids. And I was like, well, what role am I going to be allowed to play in their life? Stakes are higher than ever, and I'm tired. So
when did you realize that you're gay?
Yeah. Okay, this is layered. So I think the first conscious, I am having an intrusive sexual thought about another man. It was the summer before grade 9. So in the summer before grade 9, I was illegally working at a linen store because basically my mom was their marketing manager. And I was like, I want to work at the physical store. And they were like, you're not legally old enough. But then I was like, I really want to do it. And so her boss was like, okay, I'll give you a Subway sandwich if you work like a 7-hour shift.
What?
But they had other staff there. I wasn't very useful, but I loved it. Anyways, I was walking by this man at the mall. Wasn't particularly attractive to me, just very random. This was also the summer that I discovered masturbation. And so I was pleasuring myself later on that week, and I just have this intrusive thought about that man. I didn't feel anything towards that man, but he popped into my mind, and for some reason it excited me. And I had this, I still remember, it was one of the scariest moments of my life. It was like a sharp knife going through my chest where I was like, holy shit. Tuck this away and never come to it again. Come to it.
So you realized it the summer before grade 9.
Yeah.
Tucked it away for a really long time.
Yeah.
When did you untuck?
So here's the thing. No matter how hard you tuck, the metaphorical schlong always finds a way of whipping itself back into your body. All I can do in high school is not really think about the fact that I like guys. I've started watching porn now, and I watch straight people porn. But I do this thing where I'll look at the gay category and be like, wow, that's so weird. It's so weird when I move my cursor, it shows me thumbnails of other videos and I'm just over the category of it. Yeah. Weird.
Just slightly wise.
And then go back to my straight porn and just picture what I saw. And I'd be like, oh, God, I love being straight.
Untucked. And then you were in love, 23. And then you came out to them. How did that go?
Yeah, it was a mixed bag. I had talked to one of my siblings about it who did not take it well. They had told me that their children could never find out. When I came out as gay, I also told my family about how I was an atheist.
Oh, you just double bagged it.
Actually, I triple bagged it. I also told my roommate was my boyfriend. I know.
Yeah.
Bam!
Was it all negative when
Yeah.
you came out?
So with this sibling, I went into coming out to my family very specifically. So I'd actually come out to my friends in 2016. I came out to my family in 2019. I had gone into it being like, I need unconditional support and love. Otherwise, I don't want them in my life in the moment.
Right.
I'm financially independent. I have my own space, so I feel safe to come out. My culture is literally built on like caring about people's reputations and
Yeah.
secrecy. And I was like, I don't want that. I don't want, I accept you, but don't talk about it. I do not. So what I did with each of my family members was, this is what I need. If you cannot give it to me, I am no longer engaging with you because your bigotry has made me deal with really intense mental health struggles since I was 14. That said, whenever you decide to change your mind and come around, even if it's 10 years, I'll make space in my life for you, but you don't get that until you're open-minded completely. This sibling couldn't give me that for a while, and it took a few months of me, I completely stopped talking to them. I'm not accepting this. A few months later, we chatted again, and it's been a lot better since, actually. They've really, really come a long way, and I'm really appreciative of them. My other sibling, this is what's so funny, is that my brother, who grew up being the most homophobic towards me, taught me all the homophobic slurs I know that I probably said when I was a kid too. Like, when I told him, he was so apologetic and loving and supportive. And I was shocked.
Wow.
And he was just like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, you know, so much pop culture in the early 2000s made it seem like it was okay to say those things and feel
really
those
did.
things.
Yeah.
And he's like, I never wanted to hurt you and I'm so sorry. And I was so happy and relieved. I think for me, the biggest thing that made it really hard with my siblings was at this point, they had children that I was invested in. And so with my sister, I was like, am I not going to ever get to be with her kids again? Or is it going to be some sort of very fragmented relationship? That's hard. And so with my brother, I was just relieved that at the very least in that moment in time, I knew that I had his kids who would be with me. And that was really important to me. And I was really appreciative of that. Both my parents are really nosy and like a little bit gossipy. And that's where I get it from. But my dad, I had taken him to brunch. Was super ready to come out to him. Like this man grew up in a very conservative, lower class family in Pakistan who may not have access to education that included topics surrounding LGBTQ identities, which actually nobody did in Pakistan. My dad's also in his 70s, so no, that wasn't even there at all.
Yeah.
But it turns out that he knew I was gay because my mom was talking about it really loudly because she screams when she talks, and he was eavesdropping, so he prepared.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm gay. And he's like, oh, you know what? Like, that's okay. So many people are, and you should be okay with it. And I was like, you knew already. And he's like, yeah, I heard your mom. I was like, you're so annoying. That's huge. What the hell? And he's like, I know many people who are, and they keep it a huge secret. I just want you to be happy. And I'm not very happy that you're an atheist. That brings me pain, but I just want you to feel okay and happy. I am on medication for my anxiety. It is the reason I'm able to live my life freely and breathe. And it's been such a big part of my life for 5+ years. I told my family, I was like, look, a big reason that I think I need this medication to have a peaceful and fulfilling state of mind in my life is because of the things you raised me with. So my family was learning that they had kind of failed in some capacity in their parenting, not in all the capacities, but in this small capacity. And I think it brought them a lot of shame, maybe a little bit of self-awareness, and they were scared. When I had come out to my mom, I had taken her to Panera Bread because I really wanted a cookie of theirs.
The best place to come out.
Yeah, it had to have this kitchen sink cookie, which has pretzels in it too. I was like, I'm gonna make my mom buy me this. This might be the last time I see her. She's gonna buy me this fucking cookie. And I sat next to this big ass window. I'm like, in case she tries anything, we have lots of witnesses in the middle of a parking lot in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. I sat her down and I was like, hey, like, there's something I wanted to tell you. I'm gay. Also, I don't believe in God. Also, my roommate for the past 3 months, 4 months is actually my boyfriend. She was silent for a while, as anyone would be, to be fair.
Yeah.
And we just talked through logistics. The first thing was, okay, so you're living with someone. Whoa. Yeah, I am, Mom. She was not okay with that at the beginning. We had a lot of fights about that. One of the first questions she asked me at Panera was, what do I do with all the jewelry I've been saving up for your wife?
Oh.
And I was like, honestly, fair question, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can sell it. Maybe we can figure something out. But like, it was interesting to see my parents have their minds kind of like twisted a bit because I guess they were never prepared to have a child who was queer. It's not a big part of their lives.
Yeah.
They don't know as many people who are. And
Did you have a period of time where it went like no contact with your family?
only my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, only my sister for a few months. And then she's come such a long way. And I'm really, really happy and proud of her because, I look back and I'm like, I'm happy with the way it went. I wouldn't want my sister to force herself to be comfortable with it and not really understand what that means and keep herself in my life. I'm glad that we took the space that we did because it's made our relationship better.
Considering the cultural and religious background that your entire family comes from, what do you think made them want to commit to continue to foster a relationship with you?
It's a really good question. I wish I had an answer. My family is Muslim. I'm an atheist. I know there are lots of queer Muslims that are practicing and, they work with their interpretations of their religion, which I think is amazing. I think my family has had to reinterpret or re-understand parts of their religion to make peace with the fact that they have a son who's gay. I don't know what that cognitive dissonance and realigning of the two conflicting things looks like, because for me, when I had that, my answer was, I actually don't think I believe in religion. I think that they have understood their text differently. I've also told my family this, where they're worried about me because I'm an atheist. I say, look, your religion preaches a lot of really important, lovely, good qualities. And I was like, I exhibit all of them. I exhibit them objectively more than a lot of people that that are practicing and praying and whatnot. And so I was like, if your God is a just God and isn't a meanie, he's going to be like, oh, this guy's really nice. And he just has religious trauma, and that's why he didn't believe in me. And there's a whole bunch of other cultural and societal things that have impacted that.
I just hope that God is trauma informed.
Yeah.
Do they ever try to convince you back into religion?
It happens.
Influence it?
Yeah, it happens. It's the main point of contention that I'll have. And we have a little bit of a tiff, and then we move forward. The only one thing that I'm comfortable doing that I do is during the month of Ramadan, when they fast for 30 days, if I'm visiting them during that month, I will fast with them.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my mom, she's always like, can you please fast at least once for me, for God? And I'm like, I will fast. I'm not doing it for God. I'm doing it for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm going to be in your home and none of you are eating and you're doing a ritual or having something like that, I feel like it would be very disrespectful of me to not join you and do that. I want to have this shared experience with you. Also, I think about the reasons that people fast, that it's justified in the Quran, and I'm like, those are some really good values. I'm happy to internalize those values and reflect on those things when I'm fasting. What is it like when my body is running on when I don't have enough fuel? What does it feel like when I notice myself having a shorter temper and thinking, okay, when people are going hungry, they are less able to interact with the world in a peaceful way. What does that mean for folks who don't have access to food? Things like that. So I use it as an opportunity to reflect on what the Quran wants you to reflect on. And I do it out of respect for my family. And honestly, I enjoy it. And I make sure that that day that I do fast with them once in the year, I treat them to their opening fast meal. I'll get the food, I'll pay for it, and make sure they know that I'm here to love and support them.
I feel like that seems like a cute, very sweet, wholesome trade-off. It's I don't believe in this part of your being, but I will support it. And this is me showing you my support. And then in turn, you're showing me your support.
It's like an exchange of values. You know what I mean? It's like you're showing them the behavior that you wish or would like them to show to you. It's just because you don't believe in my way of life, you can still respect me. You mentioned setting boundaries with them early on, and I'm wondering if certain boundaries still exist for you in the way that you interact with your family and sort of what your relationship looks like.
One of the boundaries I set was we do not scream at each other. I grew up in a home where people screamed at each other a lot, and it was incredibly anxiety-inducing for me. I am a very conflict-averse person now. I would literally rather somebody make me uncomfortable and them be happy than deal with the discomfort of conflict. I am going to not yell back or fight back. If you yell at me or talk to me like that, disengaging immediately. So I remember we were having this huge fight a huge argument on FaceTime, and she was like, I don't like that you're da-da-da, and she was yelling, and I just hung up on her. It's not up for debate whether or not we can talk to each other like that. Because I was like, look, I shouldn't talk to you like that either. And I have talked to you like that in the past, and that's not okay either. I am telling you that me setting boundaries, this nasty ass word that you hate, is actually going to make us closer. I checked in with her recently. I was like, remember when I said that? And you're like, And I was like, did me setting boundaries not make us have a way better relationship because now we don't scream at each other? She was like, yeah. And I was like, I win. She was like, whatever. Boundaries are a scary word for parents, particularly parents who might be immigrant parents or not even immigrant parents, maybe parents who just grew up in a very I should be able to control you culture, and that's normal to them. They don't realize that when you let your child free, they're going to love you so much more, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I love them more because they love me more, and life becomes so beautiful.
I feel like part of growing up is realizing how much your parents don't know and how much you actually become their teacher. It's challenging for a lot of parents to accept that, but like once you can accept that, there's like a lot more room for capacity of love, which is nice.
I'm really lucky, and I need to really highlight that. This is not a universal experience. I'm coming from a serious place of privilege. And I don't want to discount the fact that I've done a lot of work in boundary setting and coaching. I have. But even the fact that I can sit here and say that I have a good relationship with my family is because of a lot of privilege. I don't know that I'd be able to do this if I wasn't a guy. In our culture, guys, they can literally do whatever. Like I could literally rob a family-owned convenience store and my mom would be like, oh my God, like he was just practicing for like, I don't know, a TikTok or something. I don't know. It's a combination of privilege, luck, and me putting in the work. So
do you still have a partner? You know, you're single right now.
I'm single right now.
How do you think they'd like engage with a partner?
My mom did meet my first boyfriend.
Yeah.
It took her a while.
To go.
It was okay. She was really prepared for it. One of the things she said at dinner with him when she met him was, you know, no one can ever love anyone more than they love their mother. And I was like, Mom, we're in the middle of a Thai restaurant. I need you to just tone it down. So he grew on her.
Yeah.
They would even say how on FaceTime and stuff. When we broke up, unfortunately, after my breakup, the person that I was with before that ended up kind of being a meanie. And my mom was very unhappy with that. She's very protective of me because she showed him a lot of love. So we had a talk where she was like, from now on, please don't introduce me to any of your significant others unless it's like very serious because I got really attached to him and it's just too much for my heart.
That's sweet though.
It is really sweet. It is.
Yeah.
But now if I ever bring him up, we have this inside joke. I'm like, if I say his name, I see my mom's eyes like fire up and I'm like, sorry, I shouldn't talk about her ex. It's really triggering for her. And we all laugh at her.
Yeah.
But it is really sweet. She's like, it's hard for me to like let go of people like that because she is her own person.
Yeah.
So she's open to it. But I have to be very, very seriously like in a relationship for a very long time. And then she was like, and then you can tell me because then there are stakes and it's worth investing emotionally. This ex that I'm talking about, I never met his family because he was not out to his family. And for me, family is such a big thing. And I was like, damn, like it sucks because for me, a beautiful thing about dating someone and maybe marrying them one day is having a new family on top of it. So that's also a little bit hard. But I'm so lucky. My mom is really cool. Like she's actually really cool. I'm lucky.
Do you have any advice for people who are trying to achieve like a similar relationship with family?
Can I address a piece of coming out actually?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of messaging that's like, follow your heart and tell your family and come out to them. And I think that's really nice in theory. I'm going to say, culturally speaking, don't do it if you're not ready because literally it's not safe. For me, I felt comfortable because I had my own money and my own home.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you want to be safe and keep yourself secure and are worried, it's okay if you don't come out. It's okay if you wait until you have full independence financially and do not have the risk of them leveraging their power over you.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah.
That's huge.
Jumping now into the culture and religion piece, we recently did an episode with Bilal, which was about maintaining your connection with religion after coming out. And I think it's nice to have sort of both sides of this perspective of like wanting to disconnect with it and both being totally valid. But I'm kind of wondering what led you towards atheism and like deconnecting with religion.
Yeah, for me, it was even before the gay stuff. I think for me, the gay stuff, I was 18 when I realized that I didn't believe in anything. We don't know the origins of the universe. I just think that the scientific explanation is in my brain more likely than, maybe a being and the elements of spirituality that come with that. For me, it just didn't make sense explanation-wise. And so I was like, you know what? I don't actually believe in this. So why am I pretending? If there is this sentient being that's like made everything and stuff, like why would he want us to worship him like that? And like, why can't like we be gay? And why did he like make all these rules? They're like so like ruly, Like, have you played The Sims?
I'm like a pretty intense god on Sims. I will drown them in the pool.
Yeah. I remember in grade 7, before I fully realized I was gay, my brother's friend was like my brother's friend was very progressive and not homophobic. He's like, oh, it's cool. In the new Sims game, you can be gay. And I was like, oh my God, cool. I ran upstairs and torrented it. I sprinted. And I would have this perfect nuclear family. And then some days when I was feeling it, I would not consciously like accept it, but like I would just like go and quickly make my sim cheat on his wife with another man, like do sexy time and do woohoo.
Yeah.
And then I'd feel so guilty and like want to cry, but I wouldn't save it. And I'd reload and be like, my family's normal. It didn't happen. Everything's fine. How can I be gay if it didn't say? The gay people want to save it if they kiss men. If I look at a chicken and I'm vegan, am I not vegan anymore? Thank you.
That's a really good
Wow.
point.
Yeah.
You thought about that a
I think
while.
I'm straight.
How do you manage to separate culture and religion?
I really struggled with liking my culture when I first came out. In fact, I really wanted to distance myself from it. I remember going to an Indian restaurant with the first guy I dated and being like, I'm uncomfortable here. It reminds me of my culture. I don't ever want to associate with that again. He played a really big part in me accepting my culture. And that was one of the really great things of our relationship that he helped me with, truly. He said, your culture is so beautiful and so rich, and I wish you didn't feel like you had to abandon it. I was like, okay, it took me some time, and I got right back into my culture, and I was like, oh man, I love being South Asian. I love being Indian and Pakistani.
Yeah.
I love Bollywood movies. I love our clothes. I love our music. I love our food. It's so good. I fell in love with cooking, and I love cooking my food, you know? And so one big piece of it was incentive. I had incentive to connect to the culture. Separating the religious piece, it took some time to like kind of figure out a rhythm that works for me, but like I'm strict about like I don't pray, you know, but like I'm gonna come to your wedding at the mosque if you'll have me. I've done that a bunch of times and I'm happy to. I want to see my friends be happy in their place of worship, having love. And if I'm at my friend's wedding and it's at a mosque and I know the couple, I know that they're like not homophobic and I want to be there for them on this special day.
Yeah.
There is the argument that yes, but you're technically allowing yourself to be in the building that represents an institution that X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, whatever. I just want to be with my friends. Like, I don't care. Like, I literally don't care. I'm so tired. I just want to be with my friends.
Yeah.
I want to see them get married and I want them to be happy that I'm there and I want us all just hold hands and be happy forever.
I also think that you can redefine what certain things mean to you as
Yeah.
well and separate certain pieces from either a culture or a
Yeah.
religion to better fit, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
like how you see the world.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like all this stuff really is like just each person's interpretation of it.
Totally.
Just because somebody else's interpretation
Yeah.
of a religion is a specific way that really disagrees with you
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the same text can't have a different interpretation.
That's such a good point, actually, because I could then make an argument, a counter argument to what I just said and be like, okay, yeah, it represents this institution, blah, blah. But there are so many people who've reinterpreted the text, and to them, it represents something beautiful. So I thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm wondering if we're kind of talking about like re-engaging with your culture. I feel like the ways that you make your TikTok videos is kind of like one way that you are engaging with culture.
True.
But I'm kind of wondering like what this looks like in practice to you and like what have been the most meaningful ways that you've re-engaged with your culture.
I'd say the most meaningful ways I've re-engaged with my culture all involve the like online content stuff because I love my culture. It's so fun. And like for me, my favorite thing, and this happens a lot, is a lot of my content isn't specifically about being queer. And when it is, it isn't always like very serious or heavy. I just like want to show people that queer people can just like have fun and like it's okay for us to just be happy and light, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people from my culture be like, oh, this guy's videos are like funny and they'll follow me. And then they'll find out that I'm gay afterwards.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, like, I don't know if I agree with this whole gay thing, but he's funny, so I'll follow him. And it like helps them slowly open their minds, which I really, really like.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's a very meaningful way to engage in my culture. I'm like, I'm not not intentionally or maliciously. I'm like, I draw them in with the fact that I just really like doing funny stuff and it's fun to be funny. They realize that queer people come in all sorts of boxes and they, I guess for whatever reason, maybe I don't fit what they think queer people look or act like all the time. And so it gets to open their mind a little bit. So that's for me the most engaging way. Yeah.
I recently started to seek out re-engagement with my culture as well, which has been like very heartwarming for me. It like is filling a piece of my heart that I didn't even know needed filling.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's common or not for people like queer people in particular to like disengage with their culture because it's so tied to so many things. Like Colombian culture, for example, is very tied to, for example, macho culture, and it's very tied to misogyny. It's very tied to homophobia. It's also very tied to religion as well. Like it's all kind of, you know, but to like begin to separate it and to realize like the pieces of it that are like really beautiful is like so nice.
It is, yeah. It's hard to separate it, but then you find the pieces of it that are fun and beautiful because it's like, oh yeah, like this is so awesome. And like, I love like Indian reels. There's no TikTok in India, but like people that live in India and make content there are so funny. My entire Instagram algorithm, it isn't North American or like British, European, South Asians. It's like people from India that live there.
Yeah.
Because they're so funny. Like the humor there is so up my alley.
Yeah.
And that's why I have so many followers from the actual country too. Like for me, that was a big way that I've started engaging with my culture. Where I'm like, oh my God, like this is so niche, but so funny. And so that's how I like engaging with my culture.
Was there anything we didn't hit on that you like feel called to speak about?
No.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah. I've always wanted to get in like a fight on a podcast.
Yeah. Do you want me to say something mean to you?
You don't have to say anything. We just pretend that something happened.
Yeah, and then like put it in the teaser.
I just don't really want to talk to you guys about this right now. I'm sorry. I'm like super uncomfortable. And when you told me that I was coming here for an interview, I didn't know that you'd want me to talk about the Hailey Bieber smoothie. I've been put in a situation right now where I have to actually step away and remove myself.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that we talk about hard topics here on this podcast.
God is real. I'll prove it to you.
I'm happy to open my heart to whatever you have to say, but I might put my headphones in a few minutes in.
Underneath here, you have the earpods in.
I had this sexy Uber driver today, and he kept talking. Normally, when Uber drivers preach religion to me, I'm like, okay, like whatever. He was so hot. I'm not even kidding.
Started preaching religion.
He was talking about God, and the whole time in my head, I was like, you know what? Like, it's okay. Like, it's his journey. Like, I just want to like learn about where he's from. And he was so attractive, and he was talking about his wife and kids. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, tell me more about your like journey. And he kept looking at me through the like back mirror to like, because normal people just talk and they want to. But in my head, I was like, wow, like he can't stop looking at me.
Obsessed. You're obsessed.
It's
You're
actually
obsessed with
scary how
me.
much he wants me. And I was like, dude, you have a wife and kids. Just behave yourself.
Do you want to leave your
Stop.
wife?
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, Taha, for being here.
My pleasure.
So that is everything that we have for you today. And if you want to dive deeper into the queer Muslim experience, make sure to click this video right over here. Make sure that you subscribe. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, leave us a 5-star review because it really helps the podcast out. That's all we have for you today. And until next time,
Peace.